Okay, and our final author for this week is going to be Lucy Terry. And I wanted to bring up here, this is pretty much the only visual that comes up from Lucy Terry when you enter her into Google or you're searching. And just to give you a small sample of what she's believed to look like. Um, and that's really it. When you do Google, you'll see she does have a dedicated Wikipedia page, which is good. I mean, there's not much on here, but she does have a dedicated page to kind of talk a little bit more and expand on what is included in your Norton as well. But her only poem, Bars Fights, is what we're looking at today. And it is the earliest known work of literature by an African American. So, a lot of significant firsts here in these readings that we're looking at. Now, when you do look at the poem, and we'll be listening and also looking at a piece here online in a second, but it is all in rhyme tetrameter couplets. And as most of the sources will tell you, and if you go and look in here too, this poem was most likely sung and or just only meant to be sung as you're going through. So that's something else to consider for when you're looking at Bars Fight. But just as Norton says, she was kidnapped in Africa as an infant, sold into slavery in Rhode Island. She became the property of Captain Ebenezer Wells of Deerfield. And so, what Bars Fight is this response. It is the composed ballad poem in respondence to a 1746 Indian ambush of two white families in the small section of town known as the Bars. And this earned her acclaim. Even though she grew up a slave in Deerfield, the poem definitely has sympathy for the white men and women who died in the fight, and it's certainly meant as a preservation of memory. And so, what we learn is that it was recorded in one speech delivered by a Deerfield lawyer in 1819. Before it wasn't published actually until 1855. So it was quite a long time frame in between there as well. But she herself, Lucy, was enslaved until 1756, when then we learn Ojaya Prince, who is a prosperous free black man, actually purchased the freedom and married her. And there's a couple different spellings of his name because it's not quite known. So your book uses one. Some of the resources will use another one up here. Even PBS has a small piece on here. So again, a different spelling of her name, husband's name. They had 6 children altogether. They did end up moving to Vermont later on. Supposedly, that's about 1760 when they moved to Vermont. She had a strong reputation as a rocketeer and a strong defender of civil black rights. She was very much committed to educating her children. Like I said, she had 6 of them. I don't know if this is true or not, but the story that's here and the story that is included in your Norton as well is that she encouraged her oldest son, Caesar, who is a Revolutionary War veteran, to apply for admission to Williams College. And of course, he's refused. She, according to oral tradition, again, this is all we have to sort of pass this down here as well. Supposedly, she traveled down to Williamstown, Massachusetts, delivered a 3-hour argument to the college's trustees against the policy of racial discrimination. And although a lot of scholars have found convincing documentation for neither the story nor the places that actually happened, apparently she appeared before the U.S. Supreme Court arguing a land dispute. A long-standing existence of such legends have, kind of gone back and forth with her reputation back in what she's normally known for. This is one of the most extensive resources I can see of what's been done about her. So this one is what I've linked to on your page as well. But again, in thinking about Lucy Terry, it's most important to look at her as, what the significance of Bars Fight is. Again, the history. This is a poem that you have to recite out loud. You should recite all the poetry that we read out loud, but you really want to really want to emphasize her words, her language here as you're reading it out loud. And Bars Fights, listen to the rhyme scheme, listen to what I think is just the imagery that comes out of here, from her word choice to putting these scenes in our head. You can certainly see why she was a great orator, and you can certainly see why, especially this as the first poem composed by an African American, really stands out quite often. So you can peruse some of the different, again, I wish it was more, there's not much more up here on her. Reportedly, she died in 1821 at the age of 97, which is incredible for anyone to live that long at this point in time, clearly outliving a lot of her family members. But this is the only one of her poems that really has survived. So I do hope you like it, and we have a good conversation about going through her piece this week.